Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into one of the most epic and timeless tales from ancient history, the incredible showdown between a young shepherd and a colossal warrior. You've guessed it, we're talking about David and Goliath. But trust me, there's more to this story than what you might remember from Sunday school. Imagine this. Two armies were poised on the brink of battle. The air is thick with tension. Suddenly, from the ranks of the Philistines, a giant strides forward. His name is Goliath, and he's not just any warrior. He's a towering behemoth, clad in armor that glints menacingly in the sunlight, challenging anyone to face him in single combat. For 40 days, he stands there mocking and taunting, while the Israelites tremble in fear. But then, out of nowhere, a young shepherd named David steps up. What happens next is a tale of courage, faith, and the ultimate underdog triumph. The Philistine and Israelite armies are camped on opposite hills, with the valley of Elah between them. Goliath, the Philistine champion, stands at a staggering height, some say over 9 feet tall. His spear is like a weaver's beam, and the weight of his armor alone would crush an ordinary man. Every day he steps forward and issues his challenge. Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us. The Israelites are terrified. Who wouldn't be? But then, a young shepherd named David arrives on the scene. He's only there to bring food to his brothers, but when he hears Goliath's taunts, something ignites within him. David's faith is unwavering. He convinces King Saul to let him face the giant, not with armor or a sword, but with his sling and 5 smooth stones. Sounds crazy, right? But here's where it gets really interesting. As David steps onto the battlefield, Goliath sneers in contempt. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" he roars. But David remains undeterred. With calm confidence, he declares, "You come against me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." With that, he takes a stone, slings it, and hits Goliath square in the forehead. The giant falls face down to the ground. Victory! The Philistines scatter in fear, and David's bravery becomes a legend. This story isn't just about a boy defeating a giant. It's about faith, courage, and the power of believing in something greater than yourself. It's a reminder that no matter how insurmountable a challenge may seem, with determination and faith, we can overcome anything. So what are the Goliaths in your life? And how can you face them head-on like David did? Now let's dive deeper into the themes that make this story so legendary. Buckle up, because we're about to explore bravery, faith, the underdog, and the triumph of spirit over might. Let's start with the first theme, bravery in the face of fear. Picture this. Goliath, a fearsome giant, has been challenging the Israelites every day for 40 days. Not a single warrior has the courage to face him. Fear has paralyzed an entire army. But then David, a young shepherd boy, steps forward. What makes his bravery so remarkable? To understand David's remarkable bravery, we need to look at his life as a shepherd. Imagine being out in the wilderness, responsible for protecting your flock from wild animals. David wasn't just tending sheep, he was their guardian. Can you picture the courage it took to face a lion and a bear with nothing but a sling and his faith? Was it because he had successfully rescued a sheep from the lion's mouth? Absolutely. David's bravery, I believe, was forged in these moments of life and death, where he learned to rely on his skills and his faith. David recounted to King Saul, "When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it." This wasn't just luck or recklessness. It was the result of facing danger head-on and trusting in a higher power to see him through. David's courage wasn't just about physical bravery. It was about standing up for what he believed in, despite the overwhelming odds. When everyone else saw a giant, David saw an opportunity to demonstrate his faith. David's faith is the cornerstone of his bravery. While King Saul and his soldiers rely on physical strength and weapons, David relies on his unwavering belief in God. He says to Saul, "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." It's this divine confidence that sets David apart and empowers him to face Goliath with just a sling and a few stones. David's faith wasn't just a passive belief, it was an active force that guided his every decision. Imagine a young shepherd standing before a mighty king and declaring that he can defeat a giant warrior. David's confidence wasn't rooted in arrogance or naivety. It was rooted in his profound faith in God. His faith was evident in his conversations and his actions. He displayed this when King Saul questioned his ability to fight Goliath, and he replied, "The Lord who delivered him from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver him from the hand of the Philistine." As a shepherd, he was faced with numerous dangers. He fought off lions and bears to protect his flock. Each of these encounters reinforced his belief that he wasn't alone. He saw God's hand in every victory. When he stood before Goliath, he drew on these experiences. He believed that the same God who protected him in the past would protect him then. David's choice of weapon also reflects his faith. He chose a sling and 5 smooth stones over the king's armor and sword. Why? Because David's confidence wasn't in man-made weapons, but in God's power. He said to Goliath, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." This declaration wasn't just for Goliath to hear, but for everyone watching. It was a testament to his divine confidence. This divine confidence is what made David fearless. While others saw a giant too powerful to defeat, David saw an opportunity for God's power to be displayed. His faith turned what seemed impossible into a reality. Goliath hails from Gath, one of the 5 Philistine cities. He was their champion, a warrior of unmatched skill and strength. According to the biblical account, Goliath stood 6 cubits and a span tall. That's roughly 9 feet, 9 inches. Imagine facing someone that tall, clad in bronze armor that weighed around 125 pounds. His mere presence was enough to intimidate even the bravest soldiers. Let's talk about his gear. Goliath wore a bronze helmet and a coat of scale armor, which alone weighed about 125 pounds. He had bronze greaves on his legs and a bronze javelin slung on his back. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels, or about 15 pounds. Picture trying to lift, let alone wield, a spear like that. Goliath was not just big, he was a walking fortress. Goliath wasn't just physically imposing, he was a master of psychological warfare. For 40 days, he came forward every morning and evening to challenge the Israelites. "Why do you come out and line up for battle?" he would shout. "Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." His taunts were designed to demoralize and terrify, and they worked. The Israelites were paralyzed with fear. But what was it about Goliath that made him so confident? Was it just his size and strength? Goliath was a seasoned warrior, a veteran of many battles. He was confident in his abilities and his armor. He believed in his superiority and used it to intimidate his foes. His confidence was not just in his physical prowess, but also in his role as the champion of the Philistines. He saw himself as unbeatable, a force that no one could challenge. The contrast between Goliath and David couldn't be starker. Goliath represented brute strength, intimidation, and the power of fear. David, on the other hand, symbolized faith, courage, and the power of belief. When David stepped onto the battlefield, Goliath saw only a boy with a sling, not a threat. He underestimated David because he measured strength in physical terms alone. Goliath was defeated not because he was weak, but because he relied solely on his physical might and underestimated the power of faith and determination. Let's break down the modern-day Goliaths and what they represent. First and foremost, Goliath represents fear and intimidation. Just like the Israelites, who were paralyzed by the sight of Goliath, we often face fears that seem insurmountable. These can be fears of failure, rejection, or the unknown. So as we close this story, let's carry forward the lessons of David's faith and bravery. Let's be inspired to face our own giants with the same spirit, knowing that with God by our side, no challenge is too great, no obstacle too high, and no giant too powerful. We can easily claim and believe that we trust God, but how can we embody that in our actions? What effect does our trust in God have on our lives? David does not just assert that he trusts God. His trust prompted him to take immediate action. He didn't just think, if I fought Goliath, I'm sure God would help me. But he thought, God will help me, so I will fight. This is a confident faith free of doubts. When David suggested confronting Goliath, others around him laughed at the thought of him defeating Goliath. They believed it was a foolish concept. Keep in mind that these were people who knew God, but none of them had the faith to face Goliath. Even to them, David's faith appeared silly. But David didn't let this bother him, and neither should you. If Christians around you appear perplexed by your trust in God, remind them of David. Remember, like David, we can turn our greatest challenges into our greatest triumphs. All we need is faith, courage, and the assurance that God is fighting alongside us. It makes no difference how big our obstacle is. There is nothing we can fear. No person, situation, conflict, or obstacle is greater than the God we trust in. The army cowered away as Goliath called to them. Their dread of Goliath had become stronger than their faith in God, leaving them powerless to accomplish anything. Maybe you can trust God in tiny things, but struggle as the situation gets bigger, more serious, or scarier. Don't worry, you're not alone, but it's time to strengthen your faith. Learn about the God we serve, remind yourself of his vastness, and remember that he has already won. Thanks for joining us as we explored what Goliath represents today. If you found this discussion insightful and want to hear more about tackling modern-day challenges, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Share your thoughts in the comments. What giants are you facing, and how do you plan to overcome them? Until next time, stay strong, keep believing, and face your challenges with the courage of David.